Welcome to another YouTube live stream. If anyone's watching, thought it'll be a good idea today to run through the pedal board because yesterday I was on Instagram live and a lot of people asked, "Can you show your pedal board?" And it was too dark under the table. So what I did is I got photographs today. Yeah, it has been a while, right? Because after the last live stream, I had a bunch of things to finish, and then I had to fly to India, which was pretty cool. We did the Independence Rock Festival with Zero. I think that was on the 4th. And then I got back here on Monday night, which was the 7th. And then I got busy again. So I've been planning to resume the YouTube live, but anyway, here we are today. The studio got a bit of a rearrangement. I moved a few things around. Today's your friend's birthday and he loves the music so much. Well, happy birthday to your friend. Yeah, that's your friend. So anyway, I thought we would have a bit of fun with this. So it's just a different angle to the studio. It's the same gear. But the thing is, I've got two windows here, and depending on the time of the year, the sun hits at a certain angle. So what I try to do is I just move it around so I catch the direct sun as much of it as I can, because these days it's in short supply. It's become all it's almost like Bangalore weather in a way, because it's like it's not that cold, but it's raining, and there's this very pleasant nip in the air, but there is no direct sunshine. Do I have any super strats? Well, I do have one Eric Johnson strat, which has a humbucker. I had it routed for a humbucker, so that's as close as I would have to a super strat. No, Bombay Rain is a different kettle of fish altogether, because the intensity of it is something else altogether. Yeah, it'll rain, then it'll stop, then it'll rain again. It's a bit schizophrenic in that sense. The sun may come out for a while, but over the last weekend, from then till now, I think we've just had like a rainy spell. So I had a couple of festival gigs which were on this weekend, which are not happening because of and it's become really windy all of a sudden. I mean, I'm not complaining, but I'd rather have this weather than like some sweltering heat for sure. Chicken Ice Cream says, in an early live stream, I suggested to roll off the volume knob to get more dynamic control, but your guitar didn't have a linear knob to volume thing. Bought a classic Vibe Squire. That would make sense. Well, yeah, the kind of volume pots that are in some of the cheaper guitars, one of the best things you can do is just change the pots and the capacitor, and you should get a slight, at least it becomes more easy to use. Because what I'm doing here is, like, for example, if this is my clean sound, right? If you notice, like, the clean sound with the volume on full has got a bit of drive on it. It'll crunch if I hit hard. So I just back that off to around, say, 8. It just sweetens up completely. What headphones am I using? These are Sennheiser HD 280 Pros. Been using them since the first album I mixed on them. So they've been a long stay. The normal mixing headphones I've got are these guys, the 660s. So right now they are not being used because they're open back, and this mic will start feeding back. You want your shine on you crazy diamond, yeah, sure. So let's put that Univibe on. We've got everything's gonna be half a semitone lower than usual because this guitar's tuned down. Yeah, so it's like this. Actually, you know what will make it pretty authentic is if this long hall reverb on the lexicon. Maybe it's a bit too much. That's just the RC booster and the Univibe into the clean channel. Yeah. How am I using my headphones? Yeah, that's what I'm monitoring on the headphones right now. You've been tripping on the solo for Dance for Tomorrow. Hey, that's a cool song. I forgot the guy's name, starting with A. Really sweet guy. He wrote to me, said, "Hey, will you play on this song of mine?" I heard the song and I really liked it, and I ended up playing a solo on it. Really cool song. It's called yeah, Dance for Tomorrow, and it got a nice vocal on it as well. Anyway, so before I forget, let me know if you can see this. So this is, I just made little pictures. This is the pedal board that is under my desk. So it's got a few different pedals. I'll just go through them loop by loop rather. So loop one's got that voodoo one, which is that black and white stripy thing. Loop two is the full tone octave fuzz. So you can see that the volume is on full and the drive or whatever is, you know, all the way off. That's always how I use it. So let's put that on actually. So one sec. Turn this guy off, this guy on. Yeah, so that's your, I mean, we'll put some less epic reverb. And if you run it into the drive channel, it's it gets pretty Hendrixy. So then the third one is this tube screamer, which is the what do you call it? The Ibanez TS Mini. That's a pretty cool little pedal. So that's more like a, you know, so this is just the normal amp. That sort of thing. And then the other overdrive is the Maxon SD9, which is the green guy. That sort of thing. So we'll come back to it over the course of this. I just thought I'll show you a bit about the pedals as well. Can I do a video on basic Strat setup? Well, actually go to Tone Talks channel and there's a video with John Sir did. And he has a basic step-by-step thing on how to set up a Strat. And so watch that, and that's where I learned from. So might as well get it directly from the source. What would be my advice to the 15-year-old boy wanting to start playing the blues? To just do it, you know. There's going to be parts of the blues that you enjoy more than others, so latch on to that first. And don't think about it too much. Try to get into why it makes you feel a certain way rather than, you know, paying too much attention to the mechanics. And try to make it your own rather than, I mean, you always start off emulating people that you like. But at the end of the day, take that music and try to put as much of yourself into it as you can. That would be my advice. So, what's the place in Bombay where I got the guitar refretted? It's a guy called Audi, and his Instagram handle, I think, is Cipriano Music. Cipriano. He did a really good job on this. I don't know if you can see the fretwork. He did stainless steel frets and he cut a new nut. Did a really good job. Nice low action, you know. So. So, I'll just go back to that pedalboard thing and I'll show you a couple more of the pictures. So we did loops 1 to 4, which were the Voodoo one, the Octafuzz, the Tube Screamer Mini, and the Maxon SD9. Now in loop 5, what I have is a insert, which means it goes out of the pedalboard to a second pedalboard over here. Now this entire pedalboard is in loop 5. So if loop 5 is not active, then none of these pedals are active. So that is loop 5. Loop 6 is this Moore E-Lady flanger, which let's say and that works very nice with like some delay. And you can combine it with some chorus from the rack, for example, and you got like a very 80s, you know. That sort of thing. And loop 7 is the Univibe, the dry bell vibe machine. And loop 8 is the the Arion SEH9, which is the top left, the black and the blue one. So that's kind of being on things like and also I've got some effects running from this rack. So there's 3 things in this rack that I'll use for effects. The top one is the MPX1, which is a lexicon unit, and that's just doing some stereo delay like this. Then the next guy is the PCM70, and I use that mainly for reverb. So right now there's this rich plate setting that I'm using, and if you want to hear it without it, it is like. So with it on, you get this nice ambience. And the thing below it is the Eventide H3000. So it does a bunch of things. It does this micro pitch kind of a thing, but most of the time it stays on this crystal echoes, which is and if you put something like that, you know, if you go back to this pedal here, the black pedal, that slow engine, that Moore slow engine, you put that on and you get these and that's coming from the Eventide. So if you see the Last Analog Generation album cover, there's a setting there called Crystal Echoes. So if you use now, there's one more cool thing that I do is this guy over here, the Super Ego synth engine. So that kind of like can take a chord and you can just sustain it indefinitely by just holding that pedal down. So you get these cool pad textures, you know, that are very, it's almost like sounds like a big keyboard with that portamento and everything happened. Tell us about your first meeting with Amit Datta. I think it was probably in Amit Saigal's house that I met him there, and he was probably playing with Skinny Alley. And I think I just met them. They had done a gig and probably Zero was in town as well or something like that. Amit Saigal was this guy, legendary figure. He had a magazine called the Rock Street Journal, which was one of the few publications in the 90s that we could get our hands on, and also keep track of all the different bands around the country at the time, because otherwise there was no internet. So then they started organizing this festival called the Great Indian Rock in Delhi. So we would go, from Bombay to Delhi to play that festival. Very sweet guy, and he had a habit of inviting different musicians to his house, and one thing led to another, and we would end up having jams till late in the night. It was inevitable, right? They had a great meal, and some stuff would come out, and then everyone would pick up guitars, and it was good. I met quite a few people in his house. I think Amit Datta was one of them. Um, you're curious if musicians ever try to make their own pedals. Well, I did do a DIY pedal. It's there somewhere in the stack at the back. I made a full something like the Fulton Octavia. It's based on this old pedal called the Tycho Brahe Octavia. And there's this site called General Guitar Gadgets, and they would sell PCBs, just the circuit boards. And then in New Zealand, you get the most of the components. Otherwise, you order it from a site called Mouser.com. So I ordered everything. They had a bill of materials, which was quite, convenient. And then once that came, then I sat and did the soldering, paint by numbers kind of a thing. And it actually worked. I plugged it in and it worked. I was like, this is amazing. I used that pedal on the Happy Billy song. I used it on the solo for Lullaby Bye, the end solo. I used it, I think on the third album. No, actually, the third album I had got the full tone Octafuzz by then, because that pedal, a couple of times it got a bit noisy. So I was like, okay, this is cool and all for recording, but if I'm playing live, then I need a more solid thing. So that's when that came. But I still have it and it still works, which is pretty cool. Um, the tone had both the flange and chorus. Yep, it did. Can I please play Blues for Gary? Yeah, sure, I'll play you a little bit of it. One sec, where is my folder? Okay, cool. Let's see. 2, 3, 2, 2, 3, 3, and bing. It's always a good one to play. The chorus chords of that song are quite interesting, right? You've got F sharp minor, C sharp minor, D major 7, and this E11, which is pretty much a D try it over with the E bass. So you've got. Then the second time, it's pretty much the same chords, but then instead of the D, you've got a B minor, which is the relative minor of that chord, and E11 again. And then finally, right at the end, you've got this turnaround thing, which is pretty much like that Hendrix chord, you know, that Foxy Lady kind of. So it's like a C sharp minor, raised ninth or whatever. So that, and you've got the flattened night. Coming back to there. If the frame rate's low, I'm sorry, because I'll be meaning to actually hook up a Ethernet cable to the router. Actually, now that I've moved, it's better because I'm closer to the window. I should get an Ethernet cable. Do I prefer slightly high action? No, not really. I prefer as low as it goes without it buzzing. So it requires the guitar to be set up really well. You know, a good fret job will aid in that low action. You love how a lot of guitar culture is also very DIY electronic stuff. Have I read this book called The Art of Electronics? It's famous among DIY nerds. No, I haven't got my hands on that book because also by the time I got into you know, pedal circuits and stuff like that, the internet was already, you know, available. You could download schematics and stuff like that. So, you know, just go off that. And I think one of the first things I ever downloaded was a schematic of a Marshall Plexi. What do you call it? A super lead circuit. I was very curious on how that worked, being an engineering student. And I think I took it to my prof and I asked him, like, can you explain, like, what the fuck's going on here? And he was like, this is very, I think it's saying obsolete electronics. That's the word he used, obsolete. And this is all obsolete. I said, well, you know, these amps are still being sold and, you know, you can still play a gig with them. So, there you go. I think I told the story before, but one of my projects in college is I built a fuzz, a very basic fuzz pedal. And the guy put it on the scope and he said, you're supposed to be eliminating distortion, not introducing it. No, this is for guitar. The distortion's good. Oh man. Any upcoming concerts in India? Well, hopefully Feb or March is what we're looking at right now. Logistically, if that works out, then that'll be awesome. And they shouldn't get me started on the Indian education systems because I think the entire problem with most of the problems rather with the country are basically with rote learning. I mean, hopefully it's changed. You can hear birds in the background. But at least at the time I was in college, they were really focused on, you know, just reproducing the formula and getting the results and everything. But really thinking outside the box wasn't really encouraged. Playing in Canada, US anytime, well, once the audiences would be more than 100 per venue or something, then, you know. But I doubt that's anytime soon because nobody really there knows anything about me. There's a few scattered all across. Maybe if I could get all those people in the US into one venue and play a gig, that'll be cool. Please come to Delhi. Yeah, we'll probably end up doing Delhi if a tour happens in India. I'll probably do Bombay, Bangalore, Pune, Delhi, and then if Hyderabad or Calcutta could happen, that would be good. But Calcutta has kind of always been one of my favorite places because of the audiences, but the airfare from Bombay is always an issue. The usual budget crunch and everything. Anyway, so I'll show you a couple more things with the pedalboard though. This one over here, there's this pedal called the Super Badass Variac Fuzz, which I think is very, it's like a sleeper pedal almost, like very few people know about it, but it's kind of got this. And if you compare to that, the Octafuzz, it's almost like I kind of got this this very sitar kind of thing. It's a bad sitar imitation, but you know, this. Any plans to play in Europe? Well, if you know any venues that would be cool to play, do let me know. Right now, I am on a tiny island in the middle of the South Pacific. Thoughts on Cal guitar scene? Well, there are tons of great guitar players from Calcutta that I've met over the years, starting with the granddaddy Amit Datta, and most of his students like Aranjoy, Taj, Rohan Ganguly, all these guys, great guitar players. So there's obviously something in the water there which produces Bodhisattva, another great guitar player. All these guys, and like I'm pretty happy that most of these guys are my friends, these days. So cool. Shout out from coastal South Carolina, Low Country. Awesome, man. It's been one of probably one of the few people from that part of the United States. So thank you. Any tips on composing rhythms or any rhythmic layer for a song? You can get rhythmic inspiration from anywhere, I would think. Even like the sound of you walking, boom. Because I kind of always do that. Like when I'm walking on the street and I'm going like 1, 2, 3, 4. I mean, it's walking in some kind of a rhythm. And I'm always subdividing that, into either triplets or, halves or quarter notes. So if you're like 1, 2, 3, 4, all these little rhythms keep going off in my head. It's kind of hard to shut off sometimes, but it can be good fun. That and like speech, I find speech patterns to be really good sources of rhythm. So if you listen to a lot of hip hop music, you can get some really cool rhythmic patterns from, just from phrases. And that's the way they, which words have the emphasis, which ones are softer, which ones, all that stuff makes a big difference. So in terms of guitar phrasing, you can get those rhythmic phrases from pretty much anything around you. So just always be aware. You can just file it away for future use. Any tips I could give someone just starting to figure out composing their own music? Start simple and start putting a lot of yourself into it. I mean, you can obviously have a whole bunch of different influences that you listen to, and say, well, I like this aspect, and in which case you should probably have a really wide palette of those influences and take certain things from one and then certain things from another, and then see if you can make your own blend of that. Because if you try and copy everything from one artist, it's not going to work out. So try and, if you're at the stage where you're learning by emulating, try and copy different aspects of things from, like you take a groove from somewhere and you take a different chord progression from other. You put those two together. Now you've got a nice, basis to start writing your own melody on top of that. And learn to trust your inner ear, because at the end of the day, that's kind of what is your voice, in which you communicate. So you need to listen to just that inner melody or whatever, and try to nurture that as much as you can. Starting to learn production, any tips particularly for that? Well, you are going to make bad sounding stuff to start off with, so don't let that discourage you. Keep doing as much of it as you can, and obviously there's a ton of information these days on YouTube and different websites about music production that you can learn from. But don't get too carried away with downloading all the latest plugins and everything. I think just focus maybe on one bundle at a time. Like say you get some of the Fab Filter stuff, for example. Learn to use that properly before there's like a habit these days of just people collecting plugins and they don't really spend the time with any of those plugins. And actually what I used to do is I used to try and break the plugins. I mean, I used to push them and see, like you get all different kinds of sounds. Like I would use the delay, for example, as an EQ filter, you know. So try to get creative with it and try to not be overwhelmed by the sheer amount of information and variety of plugins and stuff out there. It's like almost like a race at the end of the day, because I mean that people have to sell stuff, right, to keep the industry going. So always be a newer and a better and a faster, EQ, compressor, whatever. Just stick with one thing at a time and just really learn how that works. Just learn, I mean, learn how compression works, how reverb works, the very basics of it. But also try to use those tools to kind of, so you can actually hear what the knobs are doing when you do that. How does Prasanna create that Carnatic sound from his guitar? Well, with his fingers. Well, he is obviously coming from a you know, long established Carnatic music tradition. And of course, I'm sure once he knows all those rules, he's bending a few because he's also schooled in jazz and rock and that sort of thing. But I'm sure if you probably just listen to something like, say, U Srinivas or something like that, and let the sound of those melodies and those enhancements to the notes sink in first without, you know, trying to figure them out right away, then I kind of think it's kind of going to go a little bit deeper at first, and then you can, over time, maybe take some lessons in that sort of thing. Do I realize I made an indie anthem when the lyric Standing By came to my head? Well, Standing By was not my lyric. It was Sid and Bobby had already got that. So when I walked into the room, all they pretty much had was that bass line, which was that, and then they had a chorus which went Standing By, Standing By, Standing By, which is, the meat and potatoes of the song. But then I had to kind of dress it up, and, then we came up with those verse chords. I think I wrote some of the verse lyrics or the breakdown lyrics or something. It was kind of a very collaborative effort after that point. But the main riff and the hook was Sid and Bobby. Do any new guitar players inspire me after all these years? Yeah, man, there's this young guy called Marcus King. I love his guitar playing. There's another guy called Ryan Fisk, Reinefiske. But he's not really new. I mean, they've been around, I think, since the early 2000s. So he plays in a band called Dunyan and another one called The Amazing. And I really love his guitar playing. It's very atmospheric, and you'll find, I mean, little bits in a bunch of newer bands as well. A lot of YouTube guitar players suggest to sing the notes when you learn them. Yeah, that definitely is not going to hurt at all. How does it work when you suck at singing? Well, you suck in private, man. That's the thing. Don't have to suck in front of other people. But at least when you're doing it, then, no one else is listening to you, so you might as well. Any favorite music producers? Well, there's a ton of them. All the way from George Martin to Trevor Horn and Nitin Sawhney, Karsh Kare, all these guys. There's something to learn in, every school. So I try to. Some producers, like, all they do is they just put the right team together and they sit back and they watch the fun unfold. And it's an art form as well. It's more about psychology as well, rather than knowing about technology and stuff like that. Though that definitely does come in. But I'm just saying, if you do hire a good engineer and let him handle that part of it, then you're more focused on the big picture. That's basically what the producer does. It's basically the guy who takes care of the big picture. Can I show you any exercise from switching rhythm to licks and licks to rhythm? Yeah, man. So let's try something like a really simple rhythm riff. you create a little, gap in that rhythm pattern. Boom, boom, back, 1, 2, 3, 4. Boom, boom, back, 1, 2, 3, 4. So then you start filling those. And so on and so forth. That's, you can do that with a bunch of different rhythm patterns. You envy how perfectly buzz-free my strat is. Well, that's all due to Audie's. He really put in the hard work and did the leveling properly. So, even if you take a basic Squire or Mexican strat and take it to someone like him who can then refret it. And I chose stainless steel. Why? Because I chew through frets pretty quickly. So then that stainless steel thing keeps the frets fresh for a very long time. Otherwise, like I think every 2.5 years, I would have to have a refret. And now it's more like, I think he said it goes closer to around 10 years without needing a refret. So, kudos to him to have done. And he did it pretty quickly. I remember giving him the guitar to him on a Monday and I had it back on a Thursday. I went over to his place and then he said, well, just play it. And I think all I had to do is I had to just drop a couple of the bridge saddles just to get the height to where I needed. And once it came back to NZ, again, I think he had set it at a slight bow. It may have just, become a slight bit flatter, but it's still not buzzing or anything. So I didn't even have to readjust the truss rod. Any advice on sounding more like Doug Rappaport? Well, maybe ask Doug Rappaport that question. I'm sure he'll be happy to help you. The audio is okay, but the video is lagging. Yeah, I'm really sorry about that though. Because I just tested my connection. It said 300 Mbps up and down. So maybe the next one I'll have an Ethernet cable so it doesn't do that. Where is this luthier and where is he located? His name is Audie. His Instagram handle is Cipriano Music, and he's located in Thane. So I took a local train and I traveled there because doing it by road was a bit painful at the time. I have to say though, the local trains were pretty efficient and got me there super quick. Show you a couple more things from the rack. There is this guy, the H3000. So there's one sound. Where is it? Am I missing that? Oh, here it is. So the H3000 is this guy which looks like that calculator on it. So there's a sound from there called Black Hole, which is really nice for these. Be nice if it was on. Yeah. That sort of thing. Rishu says, I play guitar since 10 years. I've tried a lot of times to play a song by ear. Also, have been trying to train my ear by singing a note. I know major and minor scales, still I am never be able to figure. Well, if you are able to predict the distance between any two notes, that's kind of what you're looking at doing. So if you've got an E, and you just close your eyes and hit. So you'd want to hear that as, a major 6. That's a 5th. It's a 4th. That sort of thing. Anyway, so I think what I'll do is I'll probably end the stream for today because of this video glitch thing, but I'll try and fix it for next time. Though I think probably an Ethernet cable should help because right now checking my speeds up and down, it's 300 up and down. So kind of kind of unfortunate that this issue is happening. But I think the audio works pretty fine, so that's heartening. So because even the settings on OBS, I think there was a max of 5,000 kbps up and down, and it shows sometimes it's green, sometimes it's red. So I don't really know. CPU is not dropping out. CPU is well under. I think we've temperatures running more like 70 degrees or something like that. So I don't think it's a computer issue either. Anyway, I'll look into it and hopefully we should be able to fix this by next weekend. I just wanted to do a live stream today because I did the whole studio, thing. It could also be where my computer is located in relation to the router, so maybe I will check on that as well. Anyway, see you guys next weekend, and thank you for